All right, lesson 1.1, identifying points, lines, and planes. So a lot of your lesson is vocab. It's just learning what the stuff means. So I'm just going to go over this with you. The key concept. Oh, first, undefined term. Those are things like point, line, and plane. They don't have formal definitions like you would get out of a dictionary. They just kind of have mathematical explanations for them. So that's why it's called an undefined term. So a point has no dimension, and it's represented by a dot. You guys have seen those. A line has one dimension, and it's represented by a line with two arrows. A lot of people forget these little arrows on the end of it. If it doesn't have an arrow, it's considered a segment. But if it has the arrows, then it's a line. And when it's talking about one dimension, that means like on a graph, you can have a flat graph. But if you're going into dimensions, then you have a 3D graph. So a line is one dimension. You can't have a 3D version of a line. And then through any 2 points, there's exactly one line. So you can use 2 points to name it. So for instance, you see how this line here is AB on there? So we can say line AB like they have here, or line BA. It doesn't matter which way you start with it. And then it also allows you to label it if it has a cursive letter, and in this case they chose the letter L. That's another way you can label it, line L. You'll see that with planes too. See how the plane has a letter without a dot? So that could be plane M. Or you could name it plane ABC because it's got 3 points on it. Just different ways to name it. Yeah. And a plane has 2 dimensions. So it's represented by a shape that looks like a floor or wall, but you got to think of this is continuous, like forever going this way and this way. It's a hard concept to visualize sometimes, but does that make sense on all those undefined terms? All right, so let's talk about collinear points. Collinear, I read that down. You should have this stuff all in your journal already. Collinear, if you break that down, co means with, and linear means line. So when you see collinear, it's talking about a line that has 2 points on the same line. Coplanar is the same thing, you're just on a plane instead. So I have a point here and a point here. Coplanar means they're both on the same plane. All right, there's definitions. Let's go look at the example. All right, so this is example 1. Make sure you write it in your journal. You don't have to sketch the picture, but sometimes it helps, so you can decide that. So for A, you're going to give me 2 other names for PQ. So let me find PQ on here. See, it's this one right here. So 2 other names for line PQ. What's another way I could say that that's a line?
Line N.
Mm-hmm. Line N, and it technically is in cursive. And another way, this one's a trick question. You write it backwards. Instead of PQ, it's QP. And then you put the line on top with the arrows signifying that it's a line. When you do that, you don't have to write the word line. Oh wait, I gotta do the plane. Okay, so then the other one they wanted you to do was plane R. What are 2 other ways we can?
Plane R. Plane R.
You would say plane and then just pick 3 points that are on here.
V, S, T.
Yep, good. Or
R.
And then and then just another. You can even choose P, so you could say PTV, just any 3 points that are on the plane. Good. You'll notice when they named the plane, they're very careful not to just pick these 3 points here, because they're on a line. So you kind of always want to grab the outlier when you're talking about the plane. All right, so now tell me 3 points that are collinear. I just gave that away. What 3 points are collinear?
TPS.
Yep. And then name 4 points that are coplanar.
B. TPS.
Yep. My pen is not working that good. Good. Don't worry, you'll rock through this lesson really quickly. Let me know if I go too fast. I can always stop for a second. All right, so let's go over this other key concept. And you get points for writing in your journal, so it's like free points because all you're doing is copying out of the book. All right. Now, these are considered defined terms. So they're defined by using those undefined terms like point, line, and plane. The defined terms uses those. So segments and rays. A line segment or segment, they don't always use line segment, you can just say segment. You can see here it has 2 endpoints, okay, whereas the line has the arrows. And then a ray has 1 endpoint and then the arrow on the other side. I was taught to always think of this 1 point right here as if it was the sun. That's where it started and the ray came out of it. Helps you remember the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
So. And okay, let's look at, and then an opposite ray. I'm just going to skip for you. So an opposite ray is when you have a line, but then they have points on here. These are terrible. Oh, wait, I can make points. What am I doing? Can you tell it's been a while since I've had to teach? There we go. So in here, they label these points A, B, C. So technically, I could look at this and go, well, going this way is a ray, going this way is a ray. So it's like writing ray BA and ray BC. These are considered opposite rays. Even though they're on the same line, it's like cutting it in half, going, okay, BA is one ray, BC is the other ray, and they're exactly opposite of each other. But you can only do that if you have the 3 points on the line. Opposite rays are always collinear, meaning they're all on the same line. All right, let's look at example 2. And I don't expect you to be an artist when you draw this stuff, because I can't. Just throw it up there so you know what you're looking at. E, G, J. Oh, that's class. Let me just finish this. Okay, so give me another name for segment GH. See how the segment doesn't have arrows on top? Mm-hmm. That's one of the trick questions. You just write it backwards. Yeah. You just write it backwards. HG. They just like to try and mess with you. For B, name all the rays that end with the endpoint J. So you just start with J and tell me all 4 of them. So JE, and you write it like that. JG, JF, and JH. So you got to put a little ray on top of each one of them. Perfect. Can you give me an example of opposite rays? So J. Like if I say JE, what's opposite of JE? No, J. You start at J again, and you just go the other way. JF. See, this ray goes this way, and this ray goes this way. That's an opposite ray.
Oh.
It's turn. You got to get used to the terms. So it takes practice. Don't worry. So then, what's another set of opposite rays? JG and then JH. Very good. Yeah, you got it. All right. The last thing we need to talk about is intersection. So when I have two lines or planes, wherever they meet is called the intersection. So in this case, it's right here in the middle. So that is intersection, and they'll almost always label it, so intersection A. If I have two planes, this is a little trickier to sketch. So there's a plane, and my intersecting planes look terrible. So just so you know, visualize that connecting correctly. So usually this is connected right here where the line meets. So in this case, the intersecting plane is a line instead of a point. I'm not an artist. Look at the bottom of your book. You want to see a better picture? Or look at example 4. You see how those two planes intersect? That's a much better drawing than mine. Okay? Cool. That's it. That's your lesson. So you're doing lesson 1.1, numbers 1 through 37, but just the odds, okay? You don't have to do the evens. So 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 7.